All right, guys. So I want to kind of talk about. I kind of want to recap Georgia's season. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's 6:41 in the morning. I'm tired as all hell. But I can't fall asleep. I don't know. I can't fall asleep. I mean, this is just kind of a mess. But we're gonna recap Georgia's football season. We do this every single year since I've been on YouTube for every team. So we're gonna do it with the Georgia Bulldogs. So when you just take a look at their 2021 football season, Georgia had a lot of high expectations, right? They returned back a lot of starting production from the 2020 season. And 2020 was kind of a disappointment season because a lot of people thought that, hey, that defense with that offensive line and with everything that's coming back, I mean, you got Eric Stokes and Tyson Campbell is going to have these huge expectations, and Monty Rice, N'Kobe Dean stepping up to the plate, and how their defense is, Azeez Ojulari. You got, I think Jerron Reed was definitely back there for one more year. You had Richard LeCount. A lot of people expected for Georgia to be this national championship contending football team, that they were going to end up beating Alabama, and that they were going to end up going and playing for a national title. We all know it didn't end that way. They lose to Bama, you lose to Florida, and it was a disappointment of a year. You did beat Cincinnati for the Sugar Bowl, but we all know Georgia fans, with all the amount of resources and talent that they have, that the expectation was not winning the Sugar Bowl or whatever New Year's Six Bowl they were going to win. The expectation was winning a national title. And the question was, can Kirby Smart beat Nick Saban? That's always been the biggest question for him, right? Can Kirby Smart do it? Because Kirby Smart has failed 4 times. And definitely for 2021, entering the season, we would see if we would definitely see if Georgia can answer those questions. Luckily for Georgia, going into 2021, they were dominant. I mean, they were extremely dominant, right? You go into the season, so much returning production, because, again, a lot of these seniors had a mission that they wanted a national title. They ended up crushing Clemson. They ended up pretty much crushing everyone in their path. You look at Auburn, South Carolina, Missouri, Arkansas. Not the sexiest names, Kentucky. Not the sexiest names, but they crushed everyone in their path. A lot of people, including myself, thought that this team was definitely going to go ahead and win the national championship. A lot of people thought they would just steamroll through everyone. And then they ended up facing Alabama again, and the question was, well, this is going to be it. This is Georgia's time to finally just get Alabama, get that monkey off their back, and proceed to go to the playoffs, dominate there, and get their national championship. And the argument would be, right, you have an undefeated Georgia football team. Is this the greatest football team of all time? Right? Does this team stack up with the 2019 LSU and 2020 Bama and 2001 Miami and then the 90s Nebraska teams, and right, the 70s, right, what Nebraska did back in the early 70s and what Oklahoma was doing, right? Could they stack up with those teams? And then they went up against Bama and they just got crushed. And all these expectations got thrown out the window, whether if Georgia can win. All these questions of, can Stetson Bennett do it? Can Stetson Bennett, he's a walk-on quarterback. Where's JT Daniels? He's the back. JT Daniels is a 5-star. Why is he not playing? Stetson Bennett's only a walk-on guy. He has limited. He doesn't have a strong arm. He looks funny. You pretty much heard it all, not just from other college football fans, but you heard it from Georgia fans, most importantly. They wanted JT Daniels in. And I'm not going to lie to you. Can you really blame him? I mean, JT Daniels, 5-star guy, huge, strong arm. We saw what he did for the last 4 to 5 games of the year, where he was literally averaging 300 yards passing per game. You saw his ability. And then you look at Stetson Bennett. You already saw what Stetson Bennett could do. You saw what he can do it against Alabama. Not once, but twice. And you're thinking to yourself, why in the hell do we keep going towards Stetson Bennett? What is so special about Stetson Bennett? What is it? We all know he's a leader, but his on-the-field production doesn't prove that Georgia can beat Alabama, right? In today's age, offense wins championships, not defense anymore. Offense wins championships. But then we get to this point, right? They cruise through Michigan. Stetson Bennett has one of the best games of his career. Doesn't really have a lot of passing attempts, but he cruises by. But again, him and Georgia, the defense, they cruise through everyone. They cruise through Michigan. And now we're back at the stage where they played against Alabama. And now all of a sudden the questions keep arising. Can Kirby Smart do it? Can Stetson Bennett help this team win? We all know he's not going to win it. He's not going to win it with his arm, but can he be good enough for Georgia to win it? Can their defense stop Alabama's offense, right? Is Jamison Williams going to have another 200-yard performance? A lot of questions arose, and you saw a lot of self-doubt. You saw a lot of doubt, not just from college football fans that Georgia can pull it off, but you saw it from Georgia fans as well. And it ended up motivating this Georgia football team. This team looked focused. This team looked ready. They looked prepared, and they took a lot of the harsh criticism that was really given to them, and they turned it around, and they turned it into, for one night, they turned it into one of their best performances. And Alabama's a great team. Bryce Young's the Heisman Trophy winner. Jamison Williams could have won the Biletnikoff Award. Their offensive line, even though banged up, is still a really good offensive line, and they have a lot of players. Alabama is clearly one of the top 2 teams in the country, but Georgia wanted to prove to everyone that they truly were the best team. That they wanted to get this Alabama curse off their back. That they just can't do it. That they can't win in the big one, and they got it done. They got it done against Alabama, and it was ironic that a pick six and a sack literally towards the end of the game was the seal, because this Georgia defense has been spectacular all year round, and a lot of that credit has to be given to this Georgia football program. I definitely believe that we have to give credit to Stetson Bennett. We have to give credit to Kirby Smart's decision of rolling with Stetson Bennett, right? What Todd Monken was able to achieve with Stetson Bennett, right? Stetson Bennett was this walk-on dude that ended up transferring to the JUCO route because he couldn't take it being a 4-string quarterback. He ended up coming back after being convinced, and was still, they wanted him to be the 4-string guy, and he ended up giving his opportunity. And even then, JT Daniels was the dude because they just didn't believe Stetson Bennett can do it. JT Daniels had 5 games where he was like averaging close to 300 yards per game. And Stetson Bennett, and then JT Daniels gets hurt, and Stetson Bennett takes advantage of opportunities. I think we can all learn from Stetson Bennett, man, that no matter how small you are, no matter how skinny you are, no matter how funny you look, it doesn't really matter, man. And like I said, as long as you continue to work hard, give it your all, you can achieve anything. And Stetson Bennett is now a national champion. He may never go to the NFL. He may never be drafted. He may never play a down in the NFL ever in his life. But you can sit up here and say that he was a national champion. Looking back, this was one of the proudest accomplishments, if not the proudest accomplishment of his young life so far. And he can tell his kids, he can tell his grandkids that he proved a lot of people wrong. He proved a lot of doubters wrong. And now, again, you can call him a champion. This is a championship that will live in Georgia lore forever. And we can finally sit up here and get rid of the 1980 jokes. Bye-bye to 1980 jokes. I am going to miss you. I am definitely going to miss the 1980 jokes. But overall-wise, the Georgia Bulldogs pulled off one of the greatest seasons of their history. It wasn't perfect. It was not a perfect season. But they had one of the greatest defenses in the modern era. I still think Alabama's 2011 defense is better, by the way. But I still believe that, again, this is one of the best modern defenses in the modern era. Kirby Smart finally got that Nick Saban monkey off his back. And now we can move forward with the Georgia Bulldogs. And we can talk about how this team was able to just prevail over everything. Tons and tons of adversity facing this team. They were able to prevail it. And now we can sit up here and call this team national champions of 2021. The slogan will no longer be about 1980. The joke will no longer be about 1980. Now we can truly sit up here and say 2021 was the Bulldogs' year for them to win a national title.